In 2014, Wee Sao, who was 2 years old and also known as Keke, was playing in his garden in China when the parents briefly went inside for a moment. Wee crawled into the pig pen where a protective sow mauled him to death in an attempt to protect her newborn piglets. She then began chewing on the toddler's head. Hearing the child's screams, the parents rushed back outside but found the pig about 80 meters away, gnawing on Keke's head. Other villagers came rushing to the scene where they grabbed the pig, tied it to a tree before killing it and cutting its stomach open. Inside they found fragments of Keke's skull and hair, which they showed to authorities to prove the pig had killed him. In September 2020, in West Yorkshire, Michael Holmes, 57, and his wife Teresa were walking with their daughter's 2 dogs to take one of their regular routines. They entered a field at J.O. Mitchell & Sons farm and followed a public footpath up a steep hill, but were unaware that several dozen cows with their calves were at the top of the slope. CCTV footage from a nearby property appeared to show the cows approaching Mr. and Mrs. Holmes from behind and then accelerating. Mr. Holmes sustained fatal chest injuries and was pronounced dead at the scene, while Mrs. Holmes spent 6 months in the hospital after suffering spinal cord injury and fractured ribs. Teresa now has to use a wheelchair. The 2 dogs managed to escape and were found by a neighbour nearby. In September 2022, 58-year-old Welshman Madween Harries was working on his farm with his son and wife. They were testing their animals for TB when Mr. Harries had tried to push a bull backwards out of a stall and into a crush in order for it to be tagged by the vet. The bull would normally respond by backing out, but this time it didn't, so Mr. Harries ducked under the rails between the 2 stalls and tried to push the bull again. The bull decided to go forwards instead of back, and Mr. Harries was crushed between the animal and the wall, suffering multiple traumatic injuries to his chest, abdomen and spine. The bull was quickly removed from the area by his son, Mark Harries, and despite best efforts of medical workers, Mr. Harries died at the scene. In December 2021, Kim Taylor, 73, from Bolton, was a volunteer at the Cultivate Care Farms. She had been caring for livestock in a pen alone when a sheep charged at her. Kim suffered serious injuries and went into a cardiac arrest. She was taken to a nearby hospital where she was unfortunately pronounced dead. On September 25, 2022, Kathy McKellar, 74, was staying in a holiday cottage in Lancashire with her beloved cockapoo Archie. The pair went out for a walk and made their way towards Pinewood for a series of fields. The owner of the holiday cottage, John Turner, had come across Archie, who had made his way back to the cottage. Mr. Turner was unable to find Kathy, so called 999. Kathy was found in a cattle field with 25 cows with calves and a bull. She was lying down with her arm under a wire fence where a public footpath passes through. Kathy was pronounced dead at the scene, with detectives noting she had several injuries consistent with being trampled on by cattle. A post-mortem scan revealed she had died from traumatic chest injuries, including fractured vertebrae and ribs. In November 2019, Christine Rollins, 59, was heading to caretaking duties for an older couple. She parked her car just a few steps away from the Texas home when she was attacked by a herd of feral hogs before she could make the short walk. One of the homeowners went to check on why Mrs. Rollins had not come inside at her usual time and discovered her body on a small patch of grass. In Feb 2019, an unnamed 56-year-old Russian woman was eaten alive by her hungry pigs after collapsing in their pen. The farmer had gone to feed the swines but fainted or suffered an epileptic attack, say police. The hungry pigs attacked her, completely eating her face, ears and shoulders. Her husband went to look for her and found her partially devoured body in the sty. The woman died from severe blood loss. In October 2012, an unnamed family was transporting a horse in a horse box and trailer when the horse became agitated. The 51-year-old man had pulled into a lay-by and entered the horse compartment to try and calm the horse, but he was repeatedly kicked in the head, causing fatal injuries. After falling to the ground, his wife, also in her 50s, desperately tried to help him, but was also repeatedly kicked, causing her to retreat. When 999 crews arrived, the man was unconscious in the trailer, but later died at the scene. His wife fractured her femur and injured her chest, while the couple's daughter was treated for shock at the Royal Blackburn Hospital. An emergency vet sedated the horse and he was taken to be housed at an equestrian centre. On April 28, 2022, Jasper Kraus from Ireland went to feed his animals when he was attacked and killed by a Brahma chicken. Detective Brown said that Jasper was lying on the ground in a pool of his blood after being injured on one of the back of his legs. First responders had unsuccessfully tried CPR to revive Jasper.